Hi, good evening, everyone. Absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you for having us. So, when we talk about affordable housing in communities, especially when it comes to somebody like Pocket, it's all about the people. And I think understanding who it is that we're catering to and what those affordabilities actually mean for these people is very important. Pocket essentially cater to what we like to call the forgotten middle. It's the people that actually probably don't earn enough to be able to easily climb onto the open market ladder, but don't fall under the low income category where they can actually get onto a social housing ladder or, can get onto a social register. So who is actually talking about these people and what is it that's actually available for them? We found that our cohort essentially is the 25 to 34-year-olds. And they've got a base salary of 45,000. They've been renting for about 8 years. Tend to be singles, a lot of them women, and a lot of them are key workers that live or work in the boroughs that we're catering to. And this statistics actually has changed quite dramatically, even in the 3 years that I joined Pocket. And it's actually quite stark and shocking that when I started, we were talking about salaries of 30,000. And with the way the industry has changed, with the way mortgage prices, etc., have changed, it's actually pricing out a lot of people outside of London. When Pocket was set up, about 45 or over 45% of young Londoners could be priced in with the Pocket living model. Now less than half of them actually can still afford to buy a Pocket flat. And that actually is, quite shocking. The whole reason why we were set up was to help people like the ones you see on the screen here to, step into their own home, have that feeling of ownership, have that feeling of community. A lot of these people tend to be immigrants who actually don't have roots within London, and this kind of helps foster that cohesion. One of the other things, I guess, that we need to talk about when talking about affordability is good placemaking and design. And a lot of what Pocket does is try to look at places that are underutilized, places that have, essentially categorized as brownfield sites or really tiny complex sites that have lots of constraints that another developer probably wouldn't touch, that don't fit enough quantum of homes. We will look at anything as small as 0.1 acres of a site and try to maximize it and bring out the potential of it. And in the last 15 or so years, we've gone through multiple iterations of what it is that looks good, but also regenerates the place and creates a sense of community for the people that actually live in these developments. West Green Place in Haringey, this was a fantastic scheme that was delivered by Pocket. And effectively, what it really successfully did was create a connection between the local people and the park that was adjacent. It had a new community centre in there and a nursery, which really helped root the scheme in place. Osier Way, another scheme that we've done in Wadham Forest, which is about 197 units. Again, follow the same principles of actually developing a land that was an industrial site that was underutilized and still provides some sort of industrial provision on the ground floor. And this one in particular is really interesting because this is one of the schemes that we've just completed recently that uses MMC very innovatively in order to deliver, I can't remember how many homes now off the top of my head, about 153 homes in a very tight site, and at the same time provides quite a lot of communal spaces for the residents to be able to use. So at Pocket, essentially what we're talking about is a really well-designed one-bedroom unit that falls under the category of a one-bed, one-person unit. This is what we call our product. And we like that uniformity in the product because it helps us actually understand what it is that we want in terms of the quality of the spaces. This is where you see, I guess, the space standards being massaged a bit. And we, like, Jane, like you mentioned earlier, the houses should be about the quality and not so much the quantum that it delivers. And while this is, of course, completely space standard compliant, what's interesting about it is that the quality that it offers, being able to create a footprint that's not very deep, means you're getting generously sized rooms, enough light that's drawn into the bedrooms, and spacious enough living room where you can actually work from home. I guess we need to have this understanding that not all homes have to be lifetime homes, and that different homes serve different purposes. So say, for example, this one-bed unit can be seen as a starter home for someone who's just trying to get on the property ladder, and they may be a single person, and they probably require a more well-proportioned space with a certain quantum of storage, rather than something where they want to grow a family into. So one of the other things that I think we look at really carefully, is what kind of products that actually go into the spaces that we design. So we've developed a product passport that tries to analyze the materiality, what is the cradle-to-cradle cycle of these products. Every year we go through quite a rigorous exercise of actually going through our specification and trying to understand what the market trends are, what the requirements of the industry are, what has changed in terms of sustainability, and what it is that we can do to actually give these people a much better home. And we run a post-occupancy evaluation that is then fed back across all the different segments of pocket living. So we have input from our customer care team, which is really important in the schemes going forward, to be able to determine how we actually manage our schemes. And then we've got input from sales, which is the best live data you can get, because these are the people that you're actually catering to fully understand what it is that they actually want from these homes. And I guess this is what helps us create those really thriving neighborhoods and communities. And one of the things that Pocket, I think, does really well to actually bring these people together and actually root them in this new development that they're buying into is the shared spaces or the amenities that we provide. It's not something that you see very often in a for sale product. It's something that's more typical of a build-to-rent sector or a rental model, and being able to provide these shared spaces really helps these people come together. One of the things that we do for them is have residential drinks. So when majority of the units are sold, we'll invite all the residents and kind of actually introduce them to each other, introduce them to the Pocket team, so they know who was involved in actually putting their scheme together, truly explain to them about these spaces, help them set up a residents association, so that the management of the scheme is then handed over to them after the first 2 years, so they have complete control over how they'd like to run the building and how this can be maintained. And what we've created is a residents app where they can communicate with each other, but also back to Pocket. And because we're also involved in the resale of these sites, our customer care team is always at hand in case anybody has any questions, queries, or any grievances for that matter. And I think this is, what really works well in terms of the Pocket product. And I think I'm going to end by saying, we've spoken about the standards quite a bit today, and I kind of agree with everything that's been said. And what we need to do is not break the rules, but kind of bend them or massage them, because you can't have a one-size-fits-all policy or standard for every typology. But there has to be a balance between good design, how the funding is actually brought to the table, but also the policies. And I'm going to conclude with showing you a video by one of our residents, which pretty much...
My name is Kezia. I'm 31 years old.
Sums up what we've been talking about.
I'm local to Tottenham, so I guess I'm personally invested in the area and personally invested in its development. As a key worker, it made sense for me to want to live and be connected to the community that I worked in. It can sometimes be more difficult for key workers to purchase a home When I started to look for somewhere to live, I saw a property described as a discounted property. I thought it was almost too good to be true, to be honest. So then I clicked into it and then I saw that it was a pocket property. As a key worker, I could access the flats at the price they were being sold and still be close to work. I was absolutely ecstatic when I first got my keys. I think my favourite thing about the flat is the fact that it's right next to a park. It's absolutely beautiful. I get so much light into my flat, so it always feels like a bright, serene environment to live in. There's a really strong community vibe. Pocket kind of fostered that from the very beginning, and I think that's continued. The Pocket Living app has been really helpful. So I think everybody feels quite connected. I've felt a sense of pride that I've been able to be raised nearby and continue my life here. I feel like I own a little bit of London.
Hopefully that captured the sense of what it is that we bring to the table. Thank you so much.